Hi, welcome back to our next speaker, Jen Giordano. I'm going to hand it over to Jen to introduce herself because she has went through so much depth, which she's gonna tell herself. Welcome, Jen.
Thank you. Thanks for welcoming. This is the day that I have been waiting for an entire week to have conversation with another woman that has the intention of uplifting, revealing the true nature of the feminine, which is one of nurturing and connection. So thank you for the invitation at the last minute. So I'll introduce myself. My name is Jen Giordano. You can find me using that title. Jennifer was my birth name. And, as birth names go, that's kind of the identity you have when you first enter the world. It's the gift your mother gave you, your name. I also go by two other names, Ajit Dev Kaur, which is a Sikh title that is kind of like when you become a Kundalini yoga teacher, you adopt a family, a spiritual family, and they give you a new name. I don't use the name as much as I used to in the past. Leela Devi is another gifted name that came from a musician friend of mine, which just means divine play. And so of all these names, White Wave is Jennifer, right? Gentle, graceful, white force, white wave, like white light. That's the meaning of that name. And then Leela Devi, the divine play, I identify with that a lot. And then Ajit Dev is like the warrior. So my journey started when I was a young girl born into a Christian church. My father and mother were taking gang members off the streets and bringing them to the foot of the cross, or Jesus Christ. And they would leave the gang and they would join the church. It was a small ministry, but it started to grow. And my father lost the trust of his congregation, and then they left him. So it was a failed mission, and he ended up abandoning me, my mother, and my brother. That was my first heartbreak at 3-4 years old. I started at a very young age, feeling identified with loving my daddy so much, but losing him and feeling separation. So I went on a journey for many years of my life to finding that reconnection to God, finding that reconnection to the masculine. I became kind of a little bit of a Madonna, Paula Abdul wannabe by the age of 15, wearing the short booty shorts and dancing, and wanted to prove with my beauty and my body that I was lovable. So I went on a journey with that. Of course, as many women who are blessed with, physical appearances that are good, they can sometimes exploit those appearances. I did that from the age of 15 until I was in my 30s. And I was always good at school, good at cheerleading, good at dance, good at sports, golden child, right? Like the Midas touch. But deep inside, there was this longing for reconnection to a holier, more divine source of power. But I sought for the external stuff. By 21, I was a model. I was an aerial artist. I was a fire dancer. And then I shape-shifted from performance artist into salesperson in my late 20s. And by the time I was 33, I had had a lot of success in the worldly man's world, right? As a beautiful feminine woman. But the thing was, as a working woman in a man's world, you become very masculine to fit in, to adapt. And so I recognized myself as a masculinized woman. I was having love relationships with very frivolous men who were cheaters and drug addicts and alcoholics and party boys and models. And I just felt so unfulfilled. But by the age of 33, my soul snapped me right out of it. And it actually happened on the Mayan calendar end, made in 2012, around I think it was the fall. I decided this is not enough to be what everybody else thinks I should be. I have to find out, who am I as a soul, not as an identity of Jennifer Giordano. No, as a soul. So divinely guided by my dharma, my destiny, I was forced into sex by my boyfriend at the time. We'd been together for 4 years, and it shot me out of my body. I literally rose, like floated above the experience, and saw it and watched it screen by screen, play by play, and it traumatized me. It sent me into a psychosis because I was faced with who he was as a monster. He was a drug addict, alcoholic, sex addict, porn addict. I mean, and I didn't see him that way. I saw him as my lover. I wanted to heal him. I wanted to give him my life force, my energy to help him ascend. And that was not my purpose. So it snapped me out of my body. And then a week later, I couldn't say his name. I went into trauma states. I couldn't even speak his name. And a week later, I lit my face on fire doing a fire dancing act. So this whole entire portion of my face was 3rd and 2nd degree burns. That was the beginning of recognition of my healer. First, it was about healing me. So every day for 10 days, I had to wrap the gauze. I had to nurture and nourish the wounds with everything from zinc to the supplements that I was selling at the time, because I was still in corporate sales. I was chewing on supplements. I was just self-nurturing of my face, right? And it was the mask I was wearing that was being removed layer by layer. And actually, after a week and a half, there was no scars, and my face looked like I had a beautiful chemical peel. It was a miracle, an absolute miracle that my face didn't scar. I didn't have any. And that's when I went on my spiritual journey. So it was the beginning, the catalyzing event that guided me down a journey to do sound healing, Kriya yoga, mantras, Kundalini yoga. I got certified as a teacher and started teaching right away. I started doing shamanic medicines. And then after I had gotten my teacher certification, I was guided to come to Utah, the most Christian of Republican of, completely conservative place, from California to Utah. And I was teaching Kundalini yoga to mostly Latter-day Saint Christians in the place where I lived. Did that for 5 years. And while being active in this Christian culture and learning about the people and diving into their culture, I also simultaneously have been working with plant medicines, with psilocybin, with chicory, which comes from Peru. So I have this weird meshed thing of Christianity and mysticism and shamanic earth medicine. And those merging worlds, this is the purpose of my life, that we can live outside of a dualistic structure. It's either or, you're either New Age or Christian, and that you can merge these two worlds is my life's calling. I do want to work with women now. I worked with men for many years, and the transition to working with women is a scary one, but extremely energizing as well.
What a beautiful healing journey. And actually, you had the awareness what's going on. So this is very interesting. So this is actually bringing us to our topic, the shadow work. I guess we can we can say that you're an expert on this, right? Because you got to face and you got to work through. So what is shadow work? What does that mean? Because I don't think everybody knows. And what are the tools? How do you start your shadow work? What do you suggest to those people who are ready to start the journey today?
If you want to do shadow work, you must be in touch with your inner child. You must be in touch with the subconscious parts of you that are patterns that have been there from your upbringing, from who you were born, what family you were born into. But more than that, your past samskaras. Your samskaras are the lessons written in your soul energy body. You come in with a soul, and that soul has an energy body. And so with shadow work, if you are really hyper isolated in your light and you only know your light and your joy and your beauty, then the shadow can sometimes control you like a puppet. If you only know your darkness and your nasty witchiness, then the light can never serve you and feed you and help you to have an easy life. It becomes a life with more suffering and struggle and traumas and dramas. So these two things merging are how I do shadow work. Shadow work started for me when I had to face the mirrors. There were mirrors all around me, and I constantly was in this victim state. And it was valid. I was being victimized. I was raped young age, molested young age. I was raped about 5 times, maybe more. I don't even remember, because of the scenarios that I was putting myself into. I experienced abortion, which I suffered for 20 years, feeling bad about creating a life and then destroying that life. And not from a place of somebody else told me it was wrong. I felt inside of my being that that child deserved to be here and deserved to live and would have been a great teacher to me. And so by the age of 30, 35, I recognized I've never been pregnant. I've had sex with lots of men, but I've never been pregnant. Why? Why can I not create life? And then I had to go through a process, a journey work process of recognition, feeling the feelings, the negative ones, moving through the judgment of myself, and looking at the people that I was surrounding myself with. It was like what my shaman describes. The man, his name is Emmanuel, who guided me through my first 9 shamanic ayahuasca journeys. And he's from Brazil, and he's a star seed. He's a young man, but already a shaman at a young age, a Gemini soul. And he said to me, when you have negative experiences happening around you and you're constantly being victimized, it's like these little entities are coming and poking at you, right? And these are like attachments, but they're not trying to destroy you. They're trying to point out something that's inside of you that needs to be seen and recognized and then processed and then loved, and then it can be released. If you just recognize it, see it, fight it, battle it, cut the cord, cut and chop and warrior it, you go at it like a warrior, then you're in resistance, which will draw more of it to you and more of it to you. But when you look at this thing that's happening to you as something that's happening for you, this is the shadow work. When I see people who harm me, like in my mind's description of they're hurting me, I look at them and I go, oh, I'm hurting myself through this person. Oh, I'm hurting myself through this person. Okay, well, do I want to do that anymore? If I don't want to do that anymore, what do I have to do differently? Because all I have control over is what I have to do, what I can do. So when we look at these dark and we focus on these dark things around us, we go into the abyss. But when we observe from a neutral perspective, and in Kundalini Yoga, we talk a lot about being in the neutral mind. The positive mind is the light of the sun, the masculine. The negative mind is the darkness of the moon, the womb, the feminine. That's the negative, and then the positive, and then So it's a dance of these two powers, these two forces. And the merging and marrying of divine Jesus and then divine Mother Mary Magdalene, the merging and the marrying of those two things that's the Kundalini to me. And I think that I have entered a time in my life where I'm no longer receiving negative lessons all the time, because I think I've embraced the idea that it's all me. What's happening to me is all me. So shadow work can be done from different lineages and different angles and different perspectives. But if you distill it down, it's looking at the subconscious thoughts, subconscious parts of the mind. and the inner child work, the re-parenting yourself. And sometimes that means you have to cut off your relationships. Sometimes that means you really have to like contain yourself, like create a container for yourself where you're separating from these family dynamics. So you're not being drawn forcibly into those dynamics and patterns, and you can sense who you are as a soul, as an identity alone, separate from those patterns. Then maybe you can dive in and reconnect with them, you know, years later, months later, usually years later, and then feel good about where you're coming from. The other thing I had to do is a celibacy practice. I had had so many lovers by the age of 36 that I didn't even have my own energy. I didn't even know my womb. My womb was like so full of cords that I couldn't hear my own voice. And I did 6 months and then I fail, right? Oh, I got to sleep with this guy because he's like my guy. He's my polyamorous lover I've had forever and I love him. And then I slipped. And then I tried again. And then I went 10 months. And I found a guy that I really liked, and I didn't have the strength to hold out. So I slipped again, but I did end up going 12 months the next time. And if you can do it in chunks like that, if it's too hard for you, if you're a very sexualized being and you just love sex like me, and you just love to embody energy like me, I actually used sex to dissociate, right? You can use sex and enjoy the pleasures of sex that makes you dissociate from you, from yourself, from your own feelings. So I think shadow work requires a really high level of discernment, really high level of discernment.
I do have a question. So let's get down to a specific topic. So this is the BAM, Bold Femme Boss Retreat. So we are talking about feminine energy. So for those women out there who don't feel that they are feminine inside, or how do they start the shadow work? What do you need to look at then?
Wow. Oh, so women who feel that they are not feminine inside, I believe, are rejecting their soul's request of them. Everything is a choice. This is a free will universe that we have free agency. So if you choose to allow the old patterns of old lifetimes to block you from living this moment, this life in this body that you chose, then you have to take a deep dive into plant and earth science, because the earth as our mother, we are made of her. This is her. She communicates truth to us like nobody else. You can't go get into a relationship. Like sometimes what I think women who are very masculine in their soul do is they go get into a relationship, right, with someone else, whether it's a man or a woman, and they identify from that relationship with who they are, which is a very, I'm going to be controversial here, it's a very vampiric energy, because you're using somebody else to learn about yourself. And we all do it. We all do it. But if you really want to know the feminine, you get in touch with nature, you go out to nature, you sit with your asshole on the ground with nature, you chant, you sing, you touch your own womb and to speak to it. And then there's another piece of it is trauma. Maybe being a woman feels traumatizing to some women, and so they go and hyper masculinize because they feel safer in that world, the masculine world. I was a very masculinized woman, and I was a warrior, kind of a man. I wanted to force, control, dominate, and I didn't even know I was doing those things. I didn't even know. But when I started to pray and humble myself and say, like, I want to be feminine. I want to live that grace. My name means graceful presence and benevolent queen. I wanted to live like a benevolent queen. And I couldn't be that forceful masculine, like, dude chick. I really had to transform. And like I said, ayahuasca was a huge, huge teacher. She showed me some pretty nasty, dark, masculine lives that I lived, where I was a warrior, and where I had my head chopped off, and where I raped people, and where I was bad, a bad dude, right? And I had to like look at all that and say to myself, okay, the experiences I've had in this life, maybe those men were showing me a part of myself from the past that I had to experience it, like what I had done on the other side. I had to experience it and then forgive, because living in a human body is all about forgiveness. Can you forgive it? Can you forgive yourself? Can you forgive them? And then when you get to that place, you don't condone what these dark, evil things are doing. You just accept, allow, move on. Accept, allow, forgive, move on, rinse, repeat, you know?
That is so true. I actually feel I celebrate this on a daily basis. I live in Panama City, Panama, in the jungle. So I get to connect with nature on a daily, and
Mm.
it has been a huge breakthrough for me as well, because here I have actually learned here to be in silence with myself, with my soul, because that's a really big thing. If you can actually do that, because we are always looking outside, right, for the
Yeah.
next shiny object, what's coming, who is doing what. And I found it very difficult myself to actually calm down and sit with myself. Um, you are, as I was getting ready for this interview, I was looking at your work, and you are also doing body work, how to embody your spiritual energy. Can you please share a couple of tools, what we can actually implement in our daily life, how to embody the spiritual energy?
Yes, thank you for asking that. I think my favorite tool that I'm working with right now, and it changes, guys. Like, you can get attached to being a Buddhist and then you only use Buddhist practices, and that's limiting. So I'm just using Buddhism as an example because I have some friends who are a Buddhist monk, and that's the only tool and instrument he's used for years and years. And it feels very stagnant when I sit with him and in my meditations with him, because it's the only tool he has. So right now, the tool I'm using is called a womb song, and I kind of channeled it, and it uses Aramaic words, Jehovah Elohim, just to me, the masculine presence combined with presence in a more like neutered energy. It's like, it's not a man, it's not a woman, it's both, Elohim. And so you sing to that presence. Come, like in Kundalini Yoga, we say Om Namo Gurudev Namo. And that is, I bow to the divine presence of the teachers that came before me, the long chain of golden masters, golden teachers, and that line of yogis that were in the caves 10,000 years ago that learned these practices. We call on them to set the tone, to set the container. So when I chant this, Jehovah Elohim, Jehovah Elohim, Min Bisha Milit. This is the mantra that came in through me. It's not something I learned from a master or anything. Finding the guru in you is about finding your gifts, your talents, your unique essence that wants to come and move through you, and then to transform others through that, right? And so I've done 12 years of spiritual work, purging the crap out of my system. And so I can channel this sound. And The hand mudras are very specific in this because we're setting the tone to do a very sensitive practice that's going to be, you need the protection of that sound of God presence, you know, the masculine protector. So that's the way I see when I chant that. I'm calling on that masculine presence to be here. And there's lots of ways you can call on the presence of God. So right hand goes on my heart, left hand goes on my womb when I'm doing this practice. And it's the right masculine, the left feminine holding the womb, right? I'm connecting to the femininity with the left hand, which is the receiver. So the energy of my womb is going up into my arm, into my heart, and the energy of the sun is coming through me, down, exiting my palm and going into my heart. And then I'm chanting that. Jehovah Elohim, Jehovah Elohim, min bisha milit. And then I'll describe just the second phase of it. The second phase of it is a toning. It's toning. I, o, u, ma. And then as we tone, we chant that for maybe 2 or 3 minutes. So we've brought the protector in, the sentinels are standing guard. We're doing the toning with the mudra like this. And then once we've gone to a point where we feel like we've excavated into the womb with our consciousness through the hands and feel the womb, then the song of the womb comes through. And mine, I will show you, is, I'll show you what it is. It's Aumaraja. So I chant that name, the Namo, the name of my womb, and that's the process. And it takes 20 or 30 minutes of doing this process where you'll have emotional reactions, you'll have things purge out, because the womb is like, oh, she's talking to me, she's listening to me. I'm going to talk to her, I'm going to release, I'm going to express. And the womb communicates sometimes to some women who have done a lot of work on the womb. Sometimes they just start laughing, they start having orgasmic sounds come out. So it depends on where you're at and what layers are in there and what blocks are in there, or if it's a nice, healthy, open womb space. But this process I would love to do with you, if you'd like to, just if you and your audience would like to go through it together right now for a few minutes. We have time.
Yes, let's do this.
Let's do
Wonderful.
it. Okay. So think of this as a mantra you would do in any kirtan class, right? When you're chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Okay, that's one vibe, right? It's very uplifting, bubbling up to try to raise the vibe. Then you have things like in Kundalini Yoga, we sing the mantra. Let's see which one. Om Namo Gurudev Namo. Om Namo Gurudev Namo. Okay, so these are mantras, right? They're sounds that vibrationally shift our energy body, and they tone the different energy centers. So that's the idea behind this womb song practice. Okay, but we're going to move our mudra. So we're going to start with the right hand on the heart and the left hand on the womb, and you can cup it if you want to feel it like cupping kind of a presence. Okay, and we'll start with Jehovah Elohim. And if you don't like Jehovah as a name, if that triggers you, then use Yeshua Elohim. Think of it as a yes. You're saying yes to the masculine presence, to receiving the masculine protector, that essence of the masculine father or husband or lover. Okay. Jehovah Elohim, Yeshua Elohim, and then Min Bisha. Your turn. And then Milit, Min Bisha, Milit. So from the beginning, Jehovah Elohim, Jehovah Elohim, Min Bisha Milit, Jehovah Elohim, Jehovah Elohim, Min Bisha Milit, Yeshua Elohim, Yeshua Elohim, Min Bisha Milit, Yeshua Elohim, Yeshua Elohim, Min Bisha Milit, Yeshua Elohim, Yeshua Elohim, Min Bisha Milit. One more time. Yeshua Elohim, Yeshua Elohim, Min Bisha Milit. And sit now in silence. Close your eyes. Cough, express, release. Just release anything that's stuck in the throat chakra. And now visualize the presence of a big masculine energy surrounding you that's protecting you so that you can undress yourself as the divine feminine. And as you undress yourself as the divine feminine, you're safe, you're held, you're protected. You can touch the deep parts of yourself now because you're protected as you vulnerably open like a blooming flower. And you'll move the right hand down in this shape to the womb. And the mudra will be right up over the womb, the hands there. And we're going to tone. And the toning begins with A, E, I, O, U, and then Hu, Ma. It's like human. So we're going to clear, we're going to tone. There might be things that happen, whether that's farting or burping or coughing. This is all okay. This is normal. Let it come out. You don't have to be like resisting it. It is really good to do that. It is making space. It is making room for where we're going. Okay. So let's start with I, O, U, Hu, Ma. Inhale through the nose. O, U, ma. You can sing it in any tone. I, O, U, ma. Toning the womb. I, O, U, ma. I, O, ma. Lifting the voice. I, O, U, ma. I, O, U, ma. Deeply inhale and hold the womb and hold the breath. Squeeze your root, your anus and your sex organs. Squeeze them to lock the root. Circulating the sound into the womb. Take some more inhales. Fill your vessel. And now with your hands at your womb, in that same mudra, in your mind, ask the question, what would you have me know right now? The next question, only one more question is, what is the sound of my womb? The name. The answer to this question will come out in a 5-part sound, and just let it come like a bubbling brook. It's going to come up from the womb, up and through the throat and out the vocal cords. It's flowing. It might take a little bit of a moment. It doesn't happen always for everyone fast. Sometimes it's slow. Just continue to ask those 2 questions. What would you have me know right now? What is the sound, the name of my womb? The vibrational essence of my womb. So now that we've completed the experience, that's what you would do for 30 minutes a day. That is a womb song meditation practice. And it is guided by me for the first couple tries, just so I can hold the space for you to get down there. Because sometimes it could be like, there's a basement down there. There's a lot of stuff down there. I can't really reach it. I'm not sure what it's trying to tell me. And with consistent practice, I assure you that womb song, that name, a 5-part sound will come through. And sometimes it comes through wrong in the beginning, and then you sit with it again, the next practice and the next practice, and it changes. And I would invite you to allow that change, allow that transformation, allow it to start with something maybe your ego wants it to be, and then let it. The first 7 seconds is usually when your intuition is working. So it's like the first 7 seconds is the name, and it can come through fast. But then your mind will try to like rationalize and say, oh no, that can't be it. Maybe it's something else. So that's the practice. That is the womb song practice.
extremely powerful. So I'm going to share my part. It's
Yeah,
what came
please, I
true
want to hear.
is the how powerful my wisdom is, my womb's wisdom. This is what came true. And the Lola Lu, whatever that means. This is Lola Lu.
I love it. And it makes you laugh. So it brings
Yes.
joy, which is the high vibration. And I mean, you can envision yourself sitting there holding your womb like this, right? And you're like, Lola Lu, Lola Lu,
Yes.
Lola Lu. You're like, this is making love to yourself. This is a form of
Yes.
making love to yourself when you're singing to your womb and sitting with it.
It's a sexy name for sure.
It's very sexy. It's the kind of sex where you have sex, you have the orgasm, and then immediately after the guy tells you a joke and you start laughing hysterically and you're just like, the orgasm increases. Have you ever had that experience? You're like, oh, naked, sweating, juice all over the place, and you're just like laughing hysterically.
Yeah. Joy and laughter, it's such a high vibration, and we gotta step into this.
Why
Do
do
you
you
have
think I'm
any,
wearing my fairy ears today?
I don't know, I wanted to ask you about that. What's that actually?
It's my fairy ear. She's one part of the multidimensional, you know, uh, Picasso that is
Okay.
this creature here. And then we have this version, like this is what I'm trying to become, right? This is her.
Okay.
She's like the Metatron, she's the moon goddess, she's got those hips, those like birthing hips and those beautiful wings that so we're all trying to reach to our highest, right? And whether we get
Yes.
there or not, that's okay. Wherever we're at is perfect.
So, Jen, it has been a lot of fun, a lot of wisdom shared. So, where can the audience connect with you? What is your free gift?
Well, my free gifts that are always available, not only for your audience, but for anyone they want to share this with, is a 15-minute discovery call. And when I say discovery call, it's not you discovering me, it's you calling me to discover yourself through the conversation. So remember that when you do set up a 15-minute discovery call, I want to be of service to you in finding your womb song. So we're going to work with either your womb song, or if you prefer, if you don't have a womb and you're a man that wants to work with me, then what I do is a Kundalini Kriya yoga that is prescriptively given to you through my energy reading. I read your energy, I ask some questions, I find out what are you struggling with now in this now moment. Here's a mantra, or here's a kriya, a physical practice, something that I give you as a prescription, like a doctor would write a prescription, give you a yoga set, a meditation that will be your prescription for 22 days. You have to do at least 22 days of something to feel a shift. And if you want to really change, you do 100 days of that practice. But switching from practice to practice to practice, it doesn't develop devotional discipline. So if you find something that resonates to you, then sit with it for at least 22 days and do it. Give it a try. Try it for 22 days. So that's my first gift, is the discovery call. The other thing is that Mondays and Thursdays, I offer womb songs for free or by donation. And I do that in the evenings. The reason I want to do that is to give you an experience of yourself, an experience of how it feels to be guided by me. And then finding the guru in you is my big purchase if you want to do 40 days of multidimensional mentorship and coaching with me. And that's only $1,888. And ladies and gentlemen, that is really low priced compared to what coaches are charging. And I don't want to charge 4, 5, 10 grand right now, because I want to reach as many people as possible, not just 10 per month, but I want to reach 1,000 people per month. And so that's why I have priced it that low. It's not because I don't think my work is valuable. It is, but I want it to be a gift, because these things were given to me as a gift, right? These downloads, these pieces of wisdom and divine knowing, they were given to me as a gift. And so for $1,888, you can work with me for those 40 days.
Thank you so much. We're gonna have the links on the gift page. So I really enjoyed connecting you. I'm sure we're gonna do it again. So
yes, and Eliko, if you want to do more womb songs with me, we can go even deeper and longer, because we could do 30 minutes of just what we were doing.
Wonderful. As I said, I'm gonna have you back for sure. Thank you so much.
Thank you all.